Hi, Deborah Roth here at Spirited Living, celebrating the summer solstice, yay, on June 21st. Longest day of the year, shortest night, the time when we really want to embrace the heat and light and warmth and energy of the sun and take it into our hearts and souls and minds and bodies. And we are going to do that today on this week's Inner Goddess Team video with the Norse Sun Goddess SUNNA, also known as Sol, S-O-L. We've heard that as a name for the sun as well. And this is a space where we honor the divine feminine in all of her faces. And this particular one is a Scandinavian face from this Norse goddess. And honoring, it's interesting because we typically, in the vernacular of feminist spirituality and the divine feminine, think about the sun being masculine and the moon being feminine. So Sunna is one of the few world goddesses that is a sun goddess, not a moon goddess. And part of that, I think, goes so perfectly with the Norse mythology and the legends, because the sun is so sacred to them. There's such a good chunk of the year that they have limited sunlight hours. So the sun takes on a particularly powerful resonance in that culture, in the Scandinavian countries. So the story with Sunna is that she was created when, and actually I have a couple little, I'll show them to you so you get the gist of it. She carries the sun across the sky, drawn by her two steeds, her two horses, and chased by the wolf Skoll, S-K-O-L-L. And it's said that if Skoll catches up with her, then all the 9 realms in Norse mythology and will be destroyed. And it's also said that that occasionally Skoll will catch up with her and devour pieces of the sun, and that's when we see the eclipse, the solar eclipses. Likewise, there's also the god at night which we won't go into. That happens with the lunar eclipses, and he's also being chased by a different, and you can see it, a good representation of both of them here. I don't know how well you can see it, but you can see the sun in her chariot, and then the moon in the nighttime God's chariot, and they're both it's kind of hard to see. They're very kind of, you can see that if you look closely, you can see the wolves chasing after them. So the mythology goes that that the mistress sun drives the chariot across the sky every day. The names of her horses are very fast, Allsvinn and Arvak, which is early rising, and is pursued by this wolf that I told you about. She considers it to be kind of a fun game, but it's serious business because if they're caught, if the sun is caught, then all of the 9 realms will disappear. And the heat from the sun is felt to be so strong that Odin, the head of the Norse gods, created a talisman or a shield, which hangs above their shoulders. It hangs above the shoulders of the horses, and spreads cool mists. And it's said that let's see if I can find that piece, which I loved, that when it's switching from the nighttime chariot to the sun-chariot, to Sunna's chariot, that you can see the dew on the grass represents actually, hi John, represents the foam from the mouth of the steeds, of the horses that are carrying them across the sky. So let's see, what else do I want to tell you about them? I'm just going to read this from one of these wonderful websites, and I always put them in the description in my YouTube channel, which will be up tomorrow. Long before the world became as it is today, there was no sun and no moon. Time floated by in one complete entity, undivided by the shiftings of light. Now, starting at the beginning, it was assumed to be the sun. Many of us take the sun for granted, but actually she is a celestial being, and her purpose is to measure time for humankind and all creatures in the 9 realms of Norse cosmology. So first the goddess Night was born. She gives birth to several children, the last one of which is, let's see, is Day. And then the Odin and the other head gods, the other chief gods, are figuring out if night is night and day are doing this across the heavens, are carrying the sun and the moon across the heavens. And there is a man called Mundilfari and his wife, and there are 2 children born to him. And because he thinks they're so beautiful, he names them the sun and the moon. And to punish him for his hubris, his arrogance in naming his children after these celestial creatures, Odin places them to be the chariot drivers in these chariots that go across the sun and the moon. So what's I think is fascinating is that the ancient Scandinavians measured their time in the number of nights, not the number of days. And when you consider, so they'll say, oh, something's going to happen not 5 days from now, but 5 nights from now. And it was felt that, we're so used to seeing that the moon is feminine, and what we can do, and I think where the divine feminine comes in so beautifully with this, is that if we imagine that we can take that fiery, constant energy of Sunna, of the sun, and all this creative manifesting power of the goddess that can be equally, obviously, as powerful and purely feminine. The radiance and the heat and all the things that we might assign to positive masculine energy, we can also embrace with this particular sun goddess. And you can call on her, and this is what your sort of call to action is no matter when you're watching this, if you're watching it on the solstice or any other time, whenever you need to burn something away, to use the fiery heat of the sun to cleanse and purify something, or if you're, if you are, let's see, I'm looking at, if you want to invoke brightness and warmth, obviously energy and joy, to be able to embrace your own inner fire, your creative spirit. So remember, as I always say in these videos, that yes, I'm doing this right now on the summer solstice, but we can actually draw into this energy any time of the year and draw in those qualities of the divine feminine, which are, compassion and intuition and honoring our emotions. And once you get to the YouTube video, there's a little I button in the corner that tomorrow, it'll be posted tomorrow, where it gives you a longer description of what the qualities of the divine feminine are and why it's so important for us to be bringing this back. So it's interesting that on this very sacred Earth Holy Day, on the summer solstice, that we're honoring what's typically pictured, what's typically acknowledged as masculine energy in the sun, and reclaiming that as a powerful feminine energy as well. If you would like to do more of that, this is very apropos to right now, not some other time. The UU congregation that I facilitate my new moon circles at, there's one coming up next week on June 29th. But tonight on the solstice at 7 o'clock, we are doing a solstice celebration that I am co-facilitating. So you can go to the 4thu.org, that's 4thu.org website, and you can, if you want to celebrate in a really beautiful way, we invoke the directions and the elements and create sacred space, even virtually. It's all on Zoom. So join us there, and we'll be doing a couple summer solstice rituals. So I feel like I'm a little all over the place, maybe because the heat of this the light of this summer solstice day is baking my brain a little bit. But I think I got across the things that I wanted to be able to share with you about the powerful energy of Sunna. So let's see. Yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say to you. I want to share with you. I will close with I always say, I don't think I have a not favorite chant. I wouldn't be chanting if I didn't love to do these things. But this is one that's particularly apropos. I've tweaked the wording a little bit so it relates to the sun. And it is a beautiful one to do if you have a group doing, and you can do a counterpoint to each other. And it goes like this. We are opening, we are opening, we are opening, we are opening. We are opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the sun. We are opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the one. We are opening, we are opening. We are opening, we are opening. We are opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the sun. We are opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the sun. Isn't that fun? I think you can see where the counterpoint happens. You heard the other wording in there, luminous love light of the one, but it's a perfect one for the sun too. So please go out in these days surrounding the summer solstice when the sun is at its height, usually for about 3 days before and after the solstice, and then it slowly, very slowly, it's a little bittersweet, begins its journey back south again. And the days very slowly will begin to get shorter. So enjoy this beautiful brilliance of Sunna on this day as she is riding her chariot for her longest ride yet, pulling the sun behind her on this longest day of the year. Enjoy, and let me know what kind of really sweet rituals and acknowledgments that you create for yourself too, and what intentions you want to set. A very powerful night to set intentions for the summer tide, for the time ahead. How do you want to move ahead with light and energy, and what do you need to burn off to let go of in order to do that? Namaste. Thanks for joining me.